All right, guys. Thanks for everybody joining us again tonight. So our first session tonight, we got Coach Lamb, who spent 22 seasons as a head coach here in Georgia. The last 20 at Calhoun High School, where he amassed a record of 238 wins and 52 losses. Not bad. During his time there, he won 18 region championships and 3 state titles. He's recently been named AD at Christian Heritage, starting in a few months in this summer. And tonight he's going to talk to us about how to run a championship program. So, without any further ado, Coach Lamb, the show is yours.
Well, good evening, guys. I want to thank Chad, Chris, and Michael for obviously doing this, and it's an honor to be able to speak for those guys. And all I'm gonna do is, it's not rocket scientist, but all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go through a year-long what we do in June, what we do in July, August. I'm gonna start in June. I'm gonna run throughout the entire year, and I'm gonna go through practice schedules. I'm gonna do it all, and please feel free to ask me any questions. I don't know if I'll be able to talk an hour or not, but we'll see. But please ask them questions at the end, or if we're right in the middle of it, you can ask a question. Doesn't matter to me, but I'll do my best to answer it. Now, what I'm gonna go through might not be best for you and your program, but it really worked for us. And a lot of you know what we are about here at Calhoun, but we got about 1,200 students now. When I first came here, it was a small. I think my first year we might have played our last season of Class A, and then we were in Double A, and now we're all the way up to 5A. So it's grown, obviously, but it's really a good place. And when I took the job, you people that are wanting to be a head coach, my first 2 years, I was a head coach at Upson Lee High School. Really got lucky in that deal. The head coach, I went with the head coach to Upson Lee High School, and after 1 year, he left, and they named me the head coach there for 2 years. Well, the first year we were 2-8. The second year we were 3-7, and that's when I applied for the job at Calhoun High School. And in this business, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And I was able to get the job here at Calhoun High School. And our first year at Calhoun, we were 2-8. So, the first 3 years of my career wasn't any good, to be honest with you, but we gradually got better, obviously, and built a good program here at Calhoun. But when I came in, let me go to this next slide. Oh, there we go. I'm going to talk to you about beginning a new journey. I'm going to talk to you about how I started our journey here at Calhoun. Well, first of all, you got to have support from administration, support from the community. And, I didn't really know if I had that in the beginning. I turned down a really, really great job in the state of Georgia because I didn't feel like I had the support of the administration. That's before would have been my first head coaching job. I'm not going to get into specifics, but I didn't feel like I had the support of the administration. If you don't have the support of administration, your chances of being successful aren't very good. Then you got to determine what the current state of the program is that you're taking over. Obviously, a lot of them, the coach gets fired or wants to go in another direction. So obviously the program is not good, but you also have some programs that you take over that are in really good shape. The tradition is high, they're winning, blah, blah, blah. So first of all, you got to determine what state the program's in. And I felt like the program here at Calhoun, it wasn't terrible by any means, but I would say it was average. So we go in, we got to change the culture. Everybody talks about the culture, and the culture here at Calhoun was not good at all. The kids' work ethic wasn't good. The mindset wasn't good. What I found out the first year was, instead of finding ways to win, they found ways to lose. They did not believe they could win when they stepped on the field. And that's what we had to change. And I felt like, and if you go into a new program, you're not going to turn it over as quick as you want to turn it over. So I felt like I needed to get in the middle school, the feeder programs, the rec department. Is that important? Well, I felt like the feeder programs was very important. So I attacked the middle school program and the recreation department in my first couple of years here. Then you got to went over to faculty administration. We just went over that, but you have to win those guys over in the beginning. Then you got to make tough, hard decisions early. And what I mean by early, in the first couple of years or even the first couple of months, you may have to run some good players off because they're not doing what you ask them to do, or they're not the standard that you're trying to set. So you have to make tough, hard decisions early to send a message that we're going to do it the right way. And I think what I did best in my career was hire quality assistant coaches. We've really been good in that area. We didn't have much turnover. The ones that I hired wanted to stay. A lot of them had kids in the program. The assistants that you hire, or the ones that we were able to hire, they had the same philosophy that I had. They must be loyal, and I mean extremely loyal. They cannot, whatever's said in a coach's meeting, they can't go out and talk about it amongst the community. They have to be extremely loyal and have your back at all times. I was able to hire some ex-head coaches. Some people do not like to go that route, but I felt like that was important. I could have somebody to lean on. And I think I was able to hire 2 or 3 ex-head coaches in my career. And I thought that was important. Don't be a micromanager. I didn't want to be a micromanager. We hired coaches to coach. I'm going to let them coach. Now, if you wasn't happy with the way the coaching was going on the field, I never once, and I think this is a good rule of thumb for you young coaches that want to be head coaches, I never once embarrassed a coach in front of players. If you didn't like what was going on, you never approached him on the field or in front of players. You got him behind closed doors and had a one-on-one meeting. And then if it didn't get better, I still never, hollered at a coach on the field. I never confronted a coach on the field. That wasn't I don't think that's the right thing to do. Let them coach. That's what you hired them for. And the last thing, they need to be quality coaches. And quality, I didn't mean to say quality coach, quality people. We don't allow bad language in our program. They need to be able to motivate kids without using bad language. They need to be quality people. Know your own strengths and weaknesses. I felt like that was one of my strengths. I knew what I was good at, and I knew what I wasn't good at. I feel like I can coach any skill position, from quarterback to running backs to wide receivers to defensive backs. I couldn't tell you. I could not coach the offensive line, defensive line, or linebackers. So I felt like I needed to have a really, really good defensive coordinator. And I'm an offensive guy, so I felt like I needed to get a defensive coordinator, and I needed to hire a very, very good strength coach, because I could care less. When I did my last power clean at West Georgia College, I said to myself, I'll never do another power clean the rest of my life. So I wasn't a big believer. I didn't like the weight room when I played, but I know you got to do it. So I felt like I had to get that guy in the weight room that was very good. Didn't need my help at all. I oversaw it, of course, but I've had a couple of strength coaches that are awesome, and I think that's very important. And then you got to get your priorities right. We're about faith, family, and football. A lot of people know I'm a faithful person, and I'm gonna do things right. But you got to teach that to your kids and to your players, and all of them are not going to be like that. But if you get the majority of them like that, your leaders like that, then you got a chance to have a good football program. And I'm firmly believe in having a slogan. When I first came here, I really didn't see it happening like it did happen. And I used the slogan, "Those who stay will be champions." And I really didn't mean champions on the field, which, we were fortunate enough to win some championships. But I wanted them to be a champion in the game of life. And that was more important to me. So, and that sign, that big sign, is still in the field house to this day. And that was our slogan. All right, I'm going to start in the month of June, and I'm going to go throughout our calendar year. Okay, let's say school's out. We give the kids off the finals week. They're kind of in and out taking finals. We don't ask them to do anything. And then we take the next week off. And we try to get kids to go on vacation that week or during the dead period so it doesn't interfere with our summer schedule. Now, our summer schedule was a little bit different than a lot of people. A lot of people go 5 days a week and, they're going to work out 3 hours and they're going to get on the field for 2 hours. They're there about 5 hours. That's not the way we did it. Matter of fact, my first probably 10 years, we were 2 days a week in June and 3 days a week in July. But now, my last 5 or 6 years, we were 3 days a week all summer long. But we're Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. And what we used to do in the beginning was give them a PM and AM, a time to come, AM, PM. Now, when they're there, it's very structured. But then we felt like that wasn't working like we wanted it to, so we went to PM. And still, we're fortunate enough here where we were able to change it and do everything in the morning. A lot of places you can't do that, but we were able to do everything in the morning. And what we do is we're Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. Okay. Monday and Thursdays are our big, huge workout days. What we do is we bring all the skill in. I think we did it this way. We brought all the skill in at 7:30 in the morning. From 7:30 to 8:30, they're on the field. They're on the field doing speed work, agilities, conditioning. No ball work yet. We're not getting any football work done. We're just trying to get ourselves in condition and working on our speed and our agility. So the linemen during that time, and it may be vice versa, but the linemen are in the weight room, with the strength coach doing the workout. So we're an hour on the field, hour in the weight room. And after about an hour and 15 minutes, we switch groups. Okay, we give them about a 10 or 15 minute water or whatever you want, a small break, and then we switch. So they're there probably a total of 2.5 hours. But I'm telling you, that 2.5 hours is about as intense and as hard as we can make it. And by the time they leave there, they're worn out. And we do that on Monday and Thursday. Now Tuesdays, they come in, we're still lifting, but not as much lifting. And then We do a little bit of ball work, but it's the same time. The skill come in early, the linemen come in a little bit after that, but we do flip flop, just like we're doing Mondays and Thursdays, but we're doing a lot of, some individual work on the field when they're out there and some other stuff in the weight room. Now, that's 10th and 11th and 12th graders. After all that, which is probably, let's see, 8:30, 9:30, probably 10:15, 10:30, we bring all the ninth graders in together, and we'll start them in the weight room for an hour, and then we'll take them out on the field for an hour. So actually the coaches, and I don't make every single coach come every single day. We'd like to have 4 or 5 coaches there per day. So what I did was schedule them throughout the summer. They told me when their vacation days were, and I scheduled around all that. If they had something they need to be doing, we just worked around that. But we'd like to have 4 or 5 coaches there, probably at least 5. And then that worked out really good. But I know some of you want to ask about the middle schoolers. Our middle schoolers are on campus. We share a campus. So there for a long time, we worked the middle schoolers out before that, before 7:30. We'd have them 6:30 to 8:30, 7:30, 6:30, 7:30. But then I started thinking about that, and I got our middle school coaches involved, and we were able to, we don't have a huge middle school weight room, but it's adequate. And they'll do some things over there and use ours, but they come a little bit earlier than we do, but the middle school coaches do those guys. My 7-on-7 philosophy, a lot of people are probably going to frown on this one, but I'm not a big believer in competing in 7-on-7. What I mean by competing is keeping score. I like 7-on-7, but I don't, I want to run our stuff. And if you go to a tournament or something, and we go to one, maybe once a year, but I kind of lost faith in that when one year we went to Georgia and competed in their tournament, and it's 4th and 1 to win the game on the 1-yard line. And we don't have a play to run. And we don't get it, obviously, when we lose, because everybody's playing cover 2 man, and it's just not what you're going to see in a game, and that's not what we're going to run in a game. We're a 1-high team. We were back then. We'll do some 2-high, but we were 1-high team. If you stay 1-high and 7-on-7, you're going to get killed. And so we did some 7-on-7. We did some 7-on-7 with Northwest Whitfield. We'd go to their place and they'd come to our place, and we'd throw for about 2 hours, treat it like a practice. We had our own camp where we had several teams, but we treat it like practice. We went to Darlington's. Tommy Atha has a really good one over at Darlington. Same thing. It's not a competition. You're treating it as practice. You're running your stuff offensively and defensively. So we did spread some 7-on-7 through the summer, but it was more, one day a week in June, and turned it up a little bit in July. And that's some of the things we did. After the dead week, we did turn it up a little bit. We got a little more intense, got a little more ball work on the field. Coaches were allowed to bring their kids in and do whatever they want to, whenever they wanted to, but we tried to give them at least Wednesday and Friday off. Everything was done Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. And I think the kids, our whole goal, and I've heard people say this, but we really believed it. We wanted our kids fresh when the playoffs got here. A lot of times if you kill them in the summer, then by game 6 or 7, they're worn out. They've had enough of football. We wanted them fresh mentally and physically when we got in the playoffs. Now, yeah, we were fortunate enough to get in the playoffs every year, and it's not as, and we all know it's about the draw when you get in the playoffs. Sometimes you got a better draw if you're a 4 seed or a 3 seed. But the key is getting in the playoffs, and we wanted to be fresh in the playoffs. And I'll continue here. That's our June, July, and I'll be glad to share our summer stuff with anybody that wants to. I'm gonna give you my email when we're done. But the Coach's Hideaway is probably the most important thing we do as a coaching staff. And what we do, let's say, for instance, the first official football practice day is on a Monday. It's July 25th. Let's say it's a Monday. What we do is we give the kids, we work out Monday and Tuesday of the previous week. We give Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, give them a 3 days off and the weekend, and then we're ready to go on that Monday. But when we did that, we did our hideaway from Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And I'm kind of looking at a itinerary that I'm gonna go over just briefly what we do at this hideaway. Now, we were very fortunate enough we had a guy, a friend of mine that's got a lake house here in town with a lake. I'm not a big fisherman, but we got a bunch of guys on the staff that like to fish. So instead of spending a whole lot of money, this guy just let us do it every year. We cook ourselves, and I'll go over this itinerary. We come in about Wednesday at lunch, and we have a staff meeting. We start off with a devotion by one of the coaches. Then we talk about staff responsibilities. We talk about personnel. We talk about loyalty. All the things that we need to discuss as a staff is the first thing we talk about. And then we get into personnel. We get the whiteboard out there. We talk about, our offensive depth chart, our defensive depth chart. We got about probably 5 or 6 kids all of our kids are on offense and a defensive position. Even though we got 120 kids, 9 through 12, they both have every one of them have a position on offense and defense, except maybe about 6 or 7 kids that we feel like are not going to help us on either side of the ball. So we make them specialists. They may be an offensive specialist, they may be a defensive specialist. So we argue about all that for a long time. And then we break every 2 hours. I give them a 20-minute break. I don't want us to get bored with what we're doing. And so we take a 20-minute break, and then we split. We go into offense, defense, and we scheme, we talk about our base offense, base defense, and we're going to scheme for a couple of hours with our separate. And then we're going to eat dinner for about an hour and a half. And then we're going to come back to O&D, and we're just going to keep talking about our base stuff, what we're going to install, when we're going to install it. And then we'll go all the way to about 11 o'clock. And then, obviously we go to bed, and then we wake up, and one of the coaches cooks breakfast. So we're back at it. The next morning, the first thing we do is we install our special teams with our 2 deep depth chart and our JV team. We go ahead and do our JV team at that time as well. So we do the pride team, smack team, and onside team. And we take another break. Then we come back and we do the PAT team, hands team, house team. Same thing, two deep depth chart, personnel, and then we'll eat lunch, and then we'll go back to O&D and talk some more about O&D, just to spread it out a little bit. And then we'll break, and then go back to offense, defense, and then about 7 o'clock, this is our last night there, because the next morning we're leaving. What we have is we bring our wives in. We have dinner. I have people catered, steaks in for our wives and their husbands, and we just spend a lot of time there together from about 7 to about 10. And we're done with football that night. We just spend time with our wives. And then the next morning, we're going to tie up loose ends. We're going to talk about Monday's practice schedule or the week practice schedule of acclimation days. And then by the lunch, we're done. So that's really, Wednesday at lunch, all day Thursday, all day Wednesday, all day Thursday, and a little bit on Friday. But that really is the most important thing that we do as a coaching staff. Now, when we leave there, we're all on the same page. We know exactly who's supposed to be where. We know what the responsibilities of the staff is, from, cleaning the locker room to being the lock coordinator on the lockers to the laundry coordinator. Everybody knows their role when we come out of that hideaway. Okay, and then we'll go to our first official day of practice, which is acclimation days. We call it pajama days. I used to ask my brother how his team was looking, and he said everybody looks good in pajamas, and that's about right. Everybody looks good in helmets only. But we felt like in our acclimation days that all of our special teams need to be installed, from the 2 deep depth chart, the JV. All of our special teams needed to be installed by the end of the week, because you're in helmets only, you can't do a whole lot anyway. And then as far as our offense, defense, we want to put our base passing game in and our base coverages in, because, in helmets only, it's kind of hard to work on your running game. So that was our philosophy in our acclimation days, and obviously getting a lot of conditioning in. Okay, and then our 2-time, back in the day when we used to go to camp, we used to go off to camp, and we loved it. We'd go off about 4 days, practice 3 times a day. But, when they cut all that out about you can't practice but 2 times a day and all of that, we felt like we were wasting money. We were wasting $10,000 by going off to camp when you couldn't put on pads and all that stuff. So, but what we tried to do is we tried to get, and what I mean by that slide there, 2-1-2-1-2 week, there was a week in there that was pre-planning week, right before the kids started school. We wanted to get 2 practices in on Monday, 1 on Tuesday, 2 on Wednesday, 1 on Thursday, and 2 on Friday. And some of those we had, because of pre-planning, we had to go early in the morning, like 6 to 8, and then after school. So, but I felt like that was important, and we did that some, but we didn't do it as much because the days didn't allow us. Then we're going to go in the end season, school in session. We're very fortunate here to have block schedule, and we have AB. It's an AB block schedule. They have 8 classes, but all of our kids, I'd say 95% of our kids, have weight training every day for an hour and 20 minutes. And our strength coach is phenomenal. He does a tremendous job, and he's got those kids by himself, either first block or second block. Me and the counselor sit down and we talk about which kids need to go where, blah, blah, blah. So 80 to 90% of our players have weight training classes, either first or second period. That's our football weight training. Okay. The rest of the kids, their schedule does not allow them to have it first or second block. So they have to have it at some point the rest of the day, during the rest of the day. But please know that they got weight training every day, not every other day, every day. Other players are throughout the day, like I said. And the game day lift in here, my first few years here, this was really a problem. And it took us a while to get this culture changed. We lift on game day, just like a lot of you do. Obviously we don't do legs and any of that stuff, but we do arms and chest, and but we lift, and the kids look forward to it. And the main reason we do this is because of other sports. They'll come in there. I can't lift today. I got a basketball game. I got a baseball game. I got a track meet, blah, blah, blah. Well, we fought that really, really early in my career. And it was bad. I can go ahead and tell you it was bad. I mean, we would have basketball players that played football. I'm a multiple sport guy. I want them to play everything they can play. That's the way I was brought up, and that's the way I tried to preach it. But over the Christmas holidays, obviously we're not lifting over Christmas holidays. Well, when we come back from Christmas holidays, we're getting after it, and they get a little sore. And then, lo and behold, a basketball player says, my muscles are sore, I can't shoot, blah, blah, blah. So we fought that for years and finally overcome it. Now we have no issues at all with that. Very seldom do we have an issue. Now we're not dumb, and we're if a kid is a really good pitcher, that's a football player, if he's pitching on, say Wednesday, a big game on Wednesday, Coach Hoblitzell or the strength coach is not going to squat him, heavy squat that day. I mean, we're use common sense. And again, our whole philosophy is to be fresh mentally and physically going into the playoffs. All right, game week. What we do is we split our team up into black and gold. Basically, black is varsity, gold is JV. Okay. And then you got some specialists. But Monday, our day is the shells. Okay. We're gonna go in shells. We have a team meeting, and I'll get specific about these in a minute. We have position meetings. We call this the intro day, and we'll just introduce, our next opponent. Tuesday is a full gear day. Each black group has 55 minutes offense, 55 minutes defense. And when they're doing offense, the gold group's doing defense and vice versa. Then we'll do 20-minute special teams. Monday's practice is a little over 2 hours, maybe 2:10, somewhere around there. Tuesday's practice is 2 hours and 20 minutes. Don't like to ever go over 2 hours and 20 minutes if I can help it. Wednesday, we're in shells. By the end of the year, we're under 2 hours. Now, the first few weeks is probably right at 2 hours, but by the end of the year, we're under 2 hours on Wednesday, doing lots of team, lots of polish. And then we started something new that a lot of people are doing, I think, about, I'd say 6 or 7 years ago. We practice on Thursdays at 6 a.m. to 7:15 in helmets only, regardless of how cold it is. And we only bring the black group in. So you only got about, I'd say 45 kids out there. The gold group does not have to come because, they probably got a JV game that day. And then Friday, we're obviously pregame. When I came here, they let them go home after school on Fridays and didn't come back to about 5 o'clock, 5:30. So I had to change that mentality. We have pregame, we have devotion, we have walkthroughs. And then at 6 o'clock, we have what we call a team walk, regardless of where we're playing, home, away. We're all walking the field together at 6 o'clock. That's the indication to get your mind right. It's time to play a football game. And we'll walk out on the middle of the field and we'll say a prayer all together in the middle of the field at 6 o'clock. And then the first group's out at 6:25. Here's our Monday schedule. First thing we'll do is have a team meeting, and school usually ends around 3:15. So at 3:25 is when we're having our team meeting. We give out awards. We talk about previous game, and we're talking about next game. And then we'll have our black group. It gets kind of complicated sometimes, but our black group will have position meetings for about 20 minutes each side. While they're having their position meetings, the gold group is on the field practicing. Okay. Let's say the black group's got offensive position meetings. Well, the defensive coaches are on the field coaching the gold group, and I'll blow the whistle and the coaches switch. So the offensive coaches go to the field, defensive coaches come in the field house to do position meetings. Okay. And then we get them all out on the field. We got specialty for 10 minutes. Each group will have 25 minutes of individual. Then each group will do about 7-on-7 for about 10 minutes, and then we'll have team about 15 minutes versus scout teams. Now, I bet you're sitting there saying, yes, the goal group is on the field for a very, very long time. And yes, they are. You know, they don't have to go through position meetings and all that, so they're on the field. So toward the latter part of the year, I let them go a little bit early once, you know, our scout teams and all that are over with, or I let mainly the 9th graders go. 10th graders just have to suck it up and stay out there. But we'll switch groups, and then we'll do a punt team, maybe PAT, something on Monday, your special teams on something Monday, that's something that does not change. Your punt team's gonna stay the same no matter what. Your PAT team's gonna stay the same no matter what. Because on Monday evening, we have our coaches' special team meeting, okay, after practice. That's when we do all of our special teams for the week. All right, and then we do conditioning. Then our Tuesday is what we call work day. We'll have specialty for 10, and black is on offense first. That's the varsity. They'll have individual for 20, inside for 10, 7-on-7 for 10 to 15, team for 15, and we'll switch groups and do the same thing. And then at the very end, we'll have kickoff team and punt block team or punt return team. Now you see at the bottom where there's no conditioning, and I thought this was a great idea by Coach Hoblitzell, our strength coach. What he does on Tuesday, instead of lifting, he lifts on Monday during school. Tuesday, he takes them out and does conditioning during that weight training block. And it's really, really tough conditioning. He gets the conditioning out of the way, and the kids love it. They know that after practice, they don't have any conditioning. Now, there's some, the ones that don't have first or second block conditioning or weight training that gets their conditioning done that day, they will have conditioning after practice. But majority of our team does conditioning during our weight training. And they also use that Tuesday. For example, they'll go out and condition and stretch. They'll pre-stretch and post-stretch and all that. And it leaves about 20 to 25 minutes of maybe some film work of the opposing team that we like to get done during that period. Wednesday, as I said, was a polished day. We try to get off the field quickly. We got specialty in 10. Black defense, you'll go individual for 5. We do black defense first, individual 5, team pass, team blitz, and then we'll do team, and then we'll do goal line. And then we'll go to black offense, individual for 5. We go right into red zone. I think red zone is the most important part of a game. I think you got to have a great package for the red zone. And I mean 15 in, 10 in. So we put an emphasis on that, and we go right to it in the beginning. And then we come back out and do PUP, which is pass under pressure. We're showing them all kind of blitz, nothing but pass. And then we'll go team, and then we'll go goal line. And then at the very end, we don't have conditioning on Wednesday. We're trying to save their legs. Thursday, we're going to flex. Again, it's black group only. And then we got, 10 specialty, and then a defensive walkthrough for 20 minutes. And then we'll go through all the special teams to break it up. Each unit gets 1 rep. And then we'll go over all our specialty, our fake punts, our onside kicks, and all of that stuff. And then we'll go 20 minutes of offense versus air. Sometimes we'll have some dummies out there, blocking dummies, but it's helmets only. And then, obviously school starts, and but the good thing about that, the kids love that because they got Thursday afternoon off, and we make them go to study hall. We had a great academic supporter, this lady that really helped us, but they got a lot of their academics done on Thursday afternoon that kids were behind. All right, coaches in season. I know some coaches work on Saturday and give Sunday off. I need a day of rest. So we give our coaches off on Saturday. actually, I come in and a couple of others come in on Saturday morning to make sure the uniforms are getting washed, and the locker room. We clean the locker room before we leave on Friday night, but we do. Some of us come in, especially me. I came in and took care of the uniforms mainly. Friday after the game, and it's a late night for our defensive staff, but they like to grade together. So as soon as they'll go get some food or have some food brought in, and they'll stay there and grade the game that Friday night, so they won't have to fool with it Saturday or Sunday. As I said, Saturday morning we'll wash the uniforms. Sunday we have a staff meeting at 1:00. Some of you may ask about the offense. Well, the way I did offense was each coach was responsible for grading their own position, and then we came in and talked about it on Sunday. If I probably had to do that over again, I think we would watch the game film as a staff as well. And we do that some, but when we come together, we're talking about what we got to work on. Did you see the certain play? So we'll pull it up and watch it there. But we bring the staff in at 1:00, and we begin with the discussion of the previous game. Each position coach speaks and lets me know or lets everybody know how their kids played, what better make, and so forth. Awards are determined, and then we'll split up to prep for the next game, defense in one room, offense in the other. And I would say an average of departure time is probably 6 to 7, and the playoffs are totally different. Totally different. What we do in the playoffs, we felt like our mindset had to change in the playoffs. So what we did when the playoffs is we brought the kids in on Sunday evening, just the black group, and had position meetings. So that means the staff had to come in a little bit early on Sunday after early church, and I think we started about 11. So I fed them lunch, and then I fed them dinner, and then the players came in for position meetings at 7:30, 8 o'clock, and had 30 minutes offense, 30 minutes defense. And then Monday, we didn't have to worry about position meetings. We could go right to practice and practice a little bit longer on Monday. But that's what we did in the playoffs. It's a little bit different. Okay, January through May. Our January, the first 8 weeks of January, starting January when we get back, is nothing but strength. We're trying to bulk up. We're trying to get strong. We're not doing anything else but trying to get strong. Our quarterback training starts. They'll come in 2 days a week before school and throw, whatever the rule is. I don't know what it is now. You can get 4 in there. Back then, I think it was just 2. So we'd have 2 quarterbacks in their training. I think it was Tuesdays and Thursday morning before school. And then starting in March and April, what we'd call it speed training. Well, let me go back to the weight room. We'd also, toward the end of that first 8 weeks, we would have what we call, it's right here on OLDL training. It was March, April, somewhere around in there. OLDL, they had 10 sessions where they came in before school and worked agility. We started out, doing it, and everybody in there. And then we had so many kids playing other sports, we narrowed it down to OLDL and kids that weren't playing other sports. And that was 2 days a week. And we call that OLDL training. And then the skill kids, they didn't have to do much of it because they were involved in other sports, and we didn't want to, kill those guys because they're getting plenty of work in the other sports. And then March and April, we started our speed training. I told you that the majority of our kids lift weights first and second block. Well, March and April, they'll lift on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Tuesday and Thursday, they'll do the speed training that we do in the summer. Okay. Those are very crucial days for us. So March and April, it gets a little bit more difficult. And we do that all the way to spring practice. Okay, so you have strength, nothing but strength the first 8 weeks. And then we're into, strength and speed for a couple of months. And then we're into spring practice. In May, we got spring practice for 10 days. And we'll have an inter squad scrimmage. I'm not big on, of course, they didn't start this until I had retired, but about playing inter squad or another team. My feeling on that, yes, good, but what we would do, I know what we would do. We would scheme to try to win the game instead of working fundamentals. And I think if you could just, still work on fundamentals and not worry about scheming, about playing somebody else, I think you could do it. But we would rather, when I was there, we would rather have an inter squad game and divide up and play ourselves. So that's what we did. Now, probably the last 10 years of my career, another good thing that we did, our varsity kids, which is rising 10th through 12th, had regular 10 days of spring practice. We brought our 9th grade in 5 days before that. Okay. Our rising 9th grade only got 5 days of spring practice, but it was 2 hours every day. They'd have an hour of offense, an hour of defense every day for 5 days. And I really did that because we kept losing numbers for spring practice during that period because they really didn't want to come. They were intimidated to come up there with the varsity kids during spring practice. So I had to put my mind together and say, let's just bring them in separately. I know it's more work for the coaches, but that was really, really good for our young kids. And I started making our rising 7th and 8th graders do the same thing. They had a week and a half of spring practice, but they were in just helmets only. They didn't get any contact, anything like that. And that takes us back to June, I believe. Yep, back to June. And oh crap, let me go back to this. Sorry. Yep, that's our year. And I'm sure you got plenty of questions. And I know there's other ways to do it, but that's the way it worked for us. And I want to end by giving some coaching tidbits that, there's a lot of things that I've been out of coaching for 2 years, and there's some things I probably look back and say, I would do a little bit of stuff different, but not a whole lot. One of the things that probably you're going to laugh at this, but probably one of the things that I probably would have done a little better is stay off the referees more, because when you're looking at it biasly, looking at it differently, that is a hard job. Those referees have hard jobs. And I look at it a little different now, and I've been out of it for a couple of years. Coaching tidbits for aspiring head coaches: don't take a job just to be taking it. There are really, really, really good assistant jobs out there. A perfect example of what I told you earlier, that, I had a chance to take one I consider one of the best jobs in the state of Georgia when I was 32 years old, 31 or 32 years old. And I didn't feel good about the administration. I didn't feel good about taking that job. Actually, I took it the night before, and then it got changed. My duties got changed the next morning. So I kind of didn't take it. So don't take a job just to be taking it. Do your homework. Know the strengths and weaknesses of the job you're trying to get. Make sure you understand that. Be observant. What I tried to do as a head football coach, and people used to make fun of me, not really make fun of me, but amazed that I knew every player's name, first name and last name, and I knew what number they were. And I tried to make a point to know every kid and his jersey number. Now, sometimes it changed because of JV, but I'm talking about mainly our 10th through 12th grade kids that had a number. And that shows the kids that you care about. You got to care about your players. You have to have a open door policy with your players and coaches at all times. You know, it's you can't shut them out. You know, I've had kids. You know, we've all got kids that have trouble at home. You got to be a mentor. You got to be a counselor. You got to be a coach. You got to be a lot of things when you're a head coach. Just make sure you understand what you're getting into when you want to be a head coach. And I want to go back to this, taking over a program. You know, I said that earlier. Be sure you understand whether it's a good program, an average program, or a bad program when you take it over. Know the difference. Did the coach get fired? Is it a struggling program? Is it a great job that you're going into? Were you given a great job? When you're given a great job, the foundation and the tradition is already laid. I mean, all the work's been done. All the hard work's been done. Just continue the foundation, continue the tradition, tweak it a little bit, but continue that foundation, continue that tradition, and be appreciative if the job that you take over is a great job. Okay. Has anybody got any questions? I know I've talked for a long time, about 55 minutes worth. Has anybody got any questions? Michael, can anybody ask a question?
They can. I say, guys, you can either unmute and ask, or you can type it in the chat box if you got anything. There's one that just popped up. Can you see them, Coach, or not?
No.
I don't think you can see him, Michael. Read it to
Okay.
him.
Hold on. I got to pull it up.
I can get it. Coach,
I
due
got
to
it.
COVID, our players are not in school and are not allowed in the weight room. Any ideas for increasing strength training during this time? We didn't deal with COVID in our day, did we, Coach Lane?
No, we didn't. I have,
Got out at the right time.
a lot of people I wouldn't say a lot of people wondered why I retired at such the time that I did and thought I was
At
crazy.
such a young age, Coach.
Yeah. And now they say I was the smartest person in America. I didn't have to deal with that COVID stuff. That's a good question. I really don't know the answer to that, to be honest with you. I know our guys, you know, our strength coach did a good job with that COVID stuff. You know, I can hook you up with him. I put my email on there. If you got that question, I can get Coach Hobbitzel, because he did do some stuff with the kids this summer when they weren't allowed to be in the weight room. Just put it on the email and I'll get it back to you.
That's right. The main thing is just keep relationships with those kids, do the best you can at what you can do. I mean, anybody else got a question for Coach Lane before we let him out? Coach Peavy said, can you give me any ideas on getting more kids playing? They need better numbers. What did y'all do to get kids out?
Well, I tell you, when I first got here, Coach, we had 50 players. And that's what I wanted, numbers. And I'd walk the halls and I would talk to the kids. You got to make it fun for the skill players. You can't stay on them constantly. And that's what we needed. We needed some skill players. And, you know, I basically went in the halls and recruited them. And my thought process was, let's say we had a basketball kid that was just a basketball player, or a baseball player that was just a baseball player that was a good athlete. What I would try to get him to do is I would go talk to him 1 week before spring practice started. I would say, give us 10 days to see how you like it. And after the end of the 10 days, if you don't like it, then we're good. But I promise you, you will like it if you'll just give us a chance. And I promise, and I got a lot of kids like that. I wouldn't say a lot, but I got good numbers out there because of that. And I thought that was a good for us to try, but you got to constantly talk to those guys. But I'm going to tell you, Coach, be careful because we got up to 125 9 through 12, which I think's too many for us because we only got 9 or 10 coaches. If you've got, 13 or 14 coaches, yeah. But I would rather have the numbers at 85, somewhere around 85 to 90, because I felt like 120 was too much. But with that being said, with them being 5A, it's time to separate. It's time to have a 9th grade staff. And I told the administration that when all of this went down, I said, you're going to have a separate 9th grade team with a separate 9th grade staff if you want to continue to get better. And, we haven't done that yet, but I think that's the next step.
All right. Anybody else got anything?
If anybody's got any questions, my email's there. I can shoot you whatever our summer schedule. I can, the hideaway itinerary, whatever you want me to shoot you, I'll be glad to shoot you.
Coach, we appreciate it. It was, it's really good stuff. So, I know it was useful for me. So I'm sure some of the other guys too. So we appreciate you coming on tonight.
Guys, I appreciate what you do, and I really do. And it's an honor to be on here, and you guys are doing an awesome job.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Y'all have a good evening.
You too, man. We'll take about a 5-minute break. Coach Zachary's already on here, it looks like. And then we'll get started with him right around 9.